You're listening to Ricky and Jimmy on Relationships, the show where we uncover the thoughts and behaviors that are sabotaging your relationship and what you can do about it. Jimmy and I are passionate about sharing the ways that imperfect partners like you and I can shift unhealthy relational dynamics and create closeness. So welcome. Drop your defenses and open your heart, eyes, and ears. Let's learn how to be the best partner we can be together. Welcome back, everybody. We have missed you. Today, we have a good one for you, because I've been running science experiments on my husband, which is always a fun thing to share with the audience. But it's something I think everybody can take something away from. And it's one of Jimmy's favorite topics of all time, which is validation.
Yeah, that's a great hook, by the way. I've been running experiments on my husband. You should make a reel. You should make a reel that starts out with that.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Validation is, I think it's always been a tough one for me because, as the longtime listeners know, I struggle with defensiveness, my favorite of the Gottman's four horsemen. And validation is like the antidote to that, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, I feel like validation has made one of the biggest differences in my relationship. I think you're right that it is the antidote to defensiveness, simply because when someone brings up their feelings, which we should have a safe space for them to do in the relationship, there's just so many detours and off ramps and caution signs that can come up along the way, and that's what this episode's kind of all about. Is just like so many people, especially I get men that actually reach out and they're like, so I'm trying not to be defensive, but at the same time, I feel like my partner simply wants me to agree with them about their way of doing things. So when I try to validate them, they're really just looking for me to say, you're right and I'm wrong. And I'm feeling stuck because I don't want to get defensive. But at the same time, the thing that I did, I don't believe that it was wrong. So therefore, I don't want to say that was wrong. And they're kind of not accepting an answer other than, you need to tell me what you did was wrong. That's how we repair this. You tell me that what you did was wrong. So they're really feeling stuck. They're like, I'm trying to validate, but at the same time, when I do, they're just like, nope, you're still being defensive, or you're still not taking accountability. And so that's kind of where this episode is born. It's just like, let's get down into the nuance of what it is and what it isn't, and how some people maybe can unintentionally weaponize validation of for it to mean, I need you to agree with my way of doing things, or else you're not validating me.
Yeah, that's so well said. I feel like I am kind of uniquely the perfect person to talk about this because I'm an unusual. I think, like what you said, it seems to be mostly men who are complaining about that, right? But I am an unusual woman in that defensiveness is my problem, and I have a very particular partner who happens to be a man, right? We always joke with our friends. It's kind of like I'm the husband and he's the wife because he's very particular, and I'm a little bit more laid back, but I'm also very defensive about all the things that he's particular about. So what a perfect time, 6 or 7 years in, for me to run an experiment on being less defensive and more validating. But I tried to make it fun. Because validation is not fun for us defensive folks. It's really not. It makes us feel kind of put under a microscope, or like what you said, like we're having to admit that we've done a bunch of things wrong and our partner's right. And, like our partner's so much better than us at all the household things that always cause so much tension.
Yep. Yeah. It gets really confusing really quickly. Gosh, you just really don't strike me as a defensive person. I'd have to see that in action.
Oh, that's very sweet.
You just don't. Yeah,
you'd have to be a fly on the wall. You'd have to be a fly on the wall here, Jimmy. Okay, I'm incredibly defensive.
I don't believe it, but
well, you'll hear it in a minute.
set up a recording, and then I'll. So number 2, I have a weird theory on why men are categorized as more defensive, and I'm sure that I'll get a lot of pushback for this, but here's the theory. Okay, so according to the Gottmans, 80% of heterosexual relationships. This gets a little confusing because it's two 80s. 80% of the time, it's the female brings up concerns 80% of the time. Like, so
Okay. That tracks.
I don't know how to,
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that sense of that, but
No,
let's
that
just say in
makes sense.
heterosexual relationships, the person bringing up the concern or the complaint, the majority of the time is a female. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
So,
And we're so vocal. It makes sense that we would, something would be on
so
our
vocal.
mind and we would, yeah.
And so the person that has the most opportunity for defensiveness is the guy. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
so,
it does.
So I have a theory that if men were more vulnerable about the things that hurt them to the women in their life, they would see a lot more defensiveness out of their female partner.
Oh.
Ask any man,
Yeah.
when's the last time you talked to your female partner about something that she did that upset you, and was she defensive? I bet you a lot of men would say, yeah, she was pretty defensive. Like, she immediately said, that's not what happened, or that, no, like
Got it.
you're mischaracterizing me. No, what happened was you don't understand the backstory of why I reacted that way. I'm just saying that there's a lot of men that are listening to this that are nodding right now, that are trying not, hopefully they're not right next to their partner, but there's a lot of men, there's a lot of men that are secretly nodding in their head. They're going, yeah, I do not, like, if I brought up my feelings to my partner, even though she's the one that says that I'm defensive all the time, she's just as defensive as me. She just doesn't have as many opportunities to be defensive.
Perfect. Okay, you've nailed it. Maybe you are a fly on the wall in our house, because Chris he's very quick to complain. He happens to be a man who doesn't stuff his feelings down about if the household or something that I've done is upsetting to him or not right in his mind. Yeah. He's very vocal about that. Yeah. And I am very, very quick to not want to be seen as the bad guy. So that's exactly what's playing out in our household.
And I'm assuming that you're not as quick. Like, when something bothers you.
I'm not a complainer.
I'm not a complainer.
Right. And I think that resonates with a lot of men, right? They kind of, I'm not going to rock the boat. I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to,
But that's not to say that things don't bother me, because they do. I just don't have, I'm just working on finding that balance of, like, because when you're a people pleaser, you really struggle with finding the balance of, like, when should I complain? Because you should complain. There's times where you should complain, and finding that balance is can be extremely difficult. Like, when am I supposed to complain? So, anyways.
Yeah, right.
People are probably asking, when are you supposed to complain? Well, for me, it's just a general rule of, like, if this is happening multiple times, if it's bothering me for more than a significant, like, we all get bothered, and we all know, I was just tired. I was just hungry. I was just, this isn't that big of a deal. But if I keep saying that, if I'm saying that tomorrow, if I'm like, oh, I really should talk to them about that, but I don't want to make a big deal about it. No, you're already talking, you're already thinking about it again tomorrow. You have to you just have to bring it up, because that's just, but whatever. That's a good way to do it. I like that. But then we do have people rules. And everybody's different. There are people like my partner, Chris, or some of the wives that are listening, maybe, who are maybe a little bit more quick to, they feel something that they don't like, and they just out with it. They just say it. And that's Chris, kind of reactive. And it's actually a really important point. Sure. That's fine. However, it's actually a really important point to this episode. I'm sure Ricky and I don't have like a really perfect outline that we follow. So if we seem scatterbrained, it just usually works best that way. But why that's so important, because the person who does bring it up, I can talk to the relationships. It doesn't matter what relationship you're in. There's usually one partner that brings things up more frequently.
Sure.
Doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter. But how they bring it up is extremely important. And we've covered this obviously ad nauseum, but it's so important, especially in this episode, to remember that how somebody brings something up and the stories that they tell themselves about what it meant and why you did certain things, and the heat that they bring on that is so important, not just to your reaction, because the more that I create a story in my head that what you did this on purpose, you did this to hurt me, you don't care about me, that's why you walked past me doing the dishes, it's because you don't care about me. It's a story that I created. So when I come to you with a complaint, hey, I'm doing the majority of the mutual chores, and that makes me feel really alone and abandoned, and devalued, it matters the stories that I've created, and it matters the accusations that I'm bringing and the heat that I'm bringing with this, because that will directly affect how that person receives it, of course. Now, the nuance there, and I won't go into a long rant because I don't want to dominate, but now the nuance there is some people are saying it doesn't matter how I bring up things, they always get defensive. They always take it as an attack. Of course. 100%. There's multiple variables going on. We just have to take responsibility for our role and for I'm just talking to the person that brings up things more frequently. I'm not saying you're wrong to bring up things more frequently. I'm saying be very careful how you are bringing things up, especially as the partner who brings things up more frequently. Do it in a way that makes sure that you're not creating those stories in your head. You're not making those silent accusations. You're not creating those unspoken expectations and then getting upset when you didn't communicate any of that. So we still have to have a respectful vulnerability when we bring these things up.
Yes.
So that's all I'm saying about that.
I'm glad you said that. That'll factor in later in my story, hopefully, unless I forget about it 20 minutes from now, as something that Chris and I did talk about, the way that he brings it up. Let me get a little bit nerdy on us too. You were talking about the stories that we tell ourselves about how our partners are and what things mean. And my good friend Monica Tanner is the one who dropped this phrase on me. It's called the core negative image, and it's kind of that villain that we've built our partners into, and the story that we constantly tell ourselves about the ways that they're bad. Google here says it's an ingrained detrimental perception of either oneself or one's partner. And we got to be careful that we're not looking at our partner for their core negative image, all the ways that they frustrate and upset us and disappoint us.
Yeah. I think it was Trevor Hansen, another mutual friend of ours, that said you have to give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's extremely difficult. And we're obviously not talking about toxic or abusive relationships here. We're talking about relationships where you feel like, in general, this is a safe relationship. I I believe my partner loves me. But in conflict, boy, can we get triggered quickly and forget that we really should be giving this person the benefit of the doubt. Yeah,
ideally. Okay, let me tell you about this science experiment that I've run at my house here. So, pretty regular, I don't want to say daily, but maybe daily, Chris and I have this little dance that we do where he brings up some sort of complaint or he notices something that's upset him and he calls my attention to it, but he also tended to call me out in a way that I didn't love, Some of it might be triggering for the audience to like, oh, you're being so selfish. I can't believe that, we've talked about this 100 times. Why wouldn't you just do this thing in the way that I want you to do it? Because it upsets me. Probably a very familiar argument to everybody listening. So old Ricky, pre-science experiment Ricky, would immediately be defensive. Hey, sorry, I was busy or I wasn't thinking about that. Also, sometimes when I'm feeling spicy, that thing that you want is silly. And I don't think that should be a rule in our house. And that's pretty familiar. I don't know. Anyway, just giving you guys the rundown on what our fights would sound like. So the science experiment that I ran this month was every time Chris brings something like that up, I'm going to assume that he's right. And before the entire audience jumps down my throat for that, I've added nuance to it this morning. I'm going to assume that he's right about the feeling behind it. And that's the thing that changed everything, because you can imagine him standing in the kitchen, finding another thing that I've done wrong as the partner who's kind of scatterbrained and absent-minded. And he calls me in and he's like, hey, there's this thing here. We've talked about it. Instead of feeling defensive and instead of resorting to the psychobabble is what he calls it when our arguments get spicy, because he doesn't want to hear, oh, I'm sorry. How did that make you feel? Because that can trigger him sometimes too, right? If you're trying to say that stuff and it sounds kind of empty. I would assume that he was right. And I would say, oh, you did tell me about this before. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this thing in this entirely new spot that I know that you like. And I'm going to I'm going to put a note next to it so that I don't do that again. That's real change, right? But also the other fun thing is that I noticed that that reaction stopped him in his tracks. The argument ended right there. He's, oh, you're going to do something different about this? Well, okay, thank you. The argument stopped right there and we went on with our day. That's not to say that things never popped up again, but regularly, daily throughout the month, I just made a point to completely slice the defensiveness out of my repertoire. And little by little, I was like chipping away at his complaining nature. He stopped having a complaining, nagging nature about this stuff. And it was so nuts, Jimmy. Instead of like the big frustrated sigh and calling me into the kitchen, he was coming to find me in the room that I was in going, hey, I saw this thing and I noticed it was in that spot, but don't worry about it. I know that I know that you're working on it. So it's just his entire demeanor changed about it because every single time he came to me with something, I was willing to acknowledge the feeling behind it. I feel like I did a really cruddy job of explaining all that for how big this experiment's been. No? Okay, great.
No, you did a great job.
Instead of, gosh, the thing that I would hate the most about those talks is how long they would be. You know, he would feel the need to explain for 5 or 10 minutes about why he wants the thing that way and why it's important to him. That's what my defensiveness would do. It would prolong that conversation. But if I really just was like, okay, that thing that you want, that makes sense for these reasons, right? It's almost like I would put myself on his side as soon as he brought it up. Not to say that I agree with everything, but that I would put myself like, okay, that it makes sense that you would feel upset about that thing. And because this it's not a strong preference that I have, I'm happy to do it this way for you. And it would just completely disarm him. I saw a great quote this morning that said, when you put down, oh my gosh, I wanted it to just roll off my tongue. And now I'm looking in my notes through here. It was like, when you put down your shield, they put down their sword. It was something simple.
Oh my
like
gosh, that's so good. I have so many
great.
thoughts. I have so many different directions that I'll forget.
No. Just say them. Lay them on me. I'm rambling
so
now.
let me just like ramble away. Okay, one. I hope
you sound defensive. Wait, right off the bat, are you feeling defensive about this?
No.
Oh, no? Okay.
I'm just an aggressive personality. One, I just want to say that thank you for being vulnerable and sharing, like opening up an aspect of your relationship, because there's probably a lot of people that are in a similar situation, and I just think that's really brave of you to be, because what I don't want to happen is for first time listeners to listen to this and think that Chris is dominant or controlling, because
oh my goodness, no, first time
because
listeners,
if you listen,
stop. He's an amazing partner.
Right. So this is an area that's just a perfect example of like, because my guess would be, like you've already said, Chris is probably a very particular individual. Maybe there's some OCD going along, but who knows what?
Maybe
who else knows what's going on? But this is such an important conversation around like, well, what do we do when our partner has like OCD and they're like, hey, so remember, I like this thing a certain way. You remember, so you did it a different way, and I don't. So that's why it's so important that we can have these safe conversations with our partner, where just like what you said, which is the key to all of this, which is, can I step into my partner's shoes on this one? And he should do that for you as well. That's what we can't miss in this. He has to do that.
Can I add to the story on that note so that I don't forget this? Okay. Because I don't want the listeners to think that this means that now I'm just Chris's robot that does all the things that he wants. No.
I was going to make sure that we were, I was going to make sure.
Okay, good. So throughout this month, there are also things that he would point out that I was like, this is legitimately not something that I'm willing to fold on. Right? I want you guys to know that would happen. But this is crazy. You can actually still validate your partner, even if you refuse to do the thing that they need done, right?
Well, that's that's what the whole episode is kind of about. Yeah.
Yes.
Go on.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
So I did that sometimes some of the things that he would call over and say, "Hey, I noticed this thing in the house has not been done in the way that you know that I like it done." And I would take his hand and I would say, "Respectfully, babe, I don't think I can do that."
I love that.
And don't get me wrong, he didn't like that response, but I said, I know that drives you nuts. That's a rule. That's a little bit too far for me to be able to do on a regular basis, but I'm going to sit down right here with you and we're going to figure out a compromise or some sort of way that we can do it differently. And he was always willing to talk about that. And I know that that's tough. Some partners might not be able to, but mine was. Yeah. And I think it's the way that I, because I said, oh gosh, this was in a spicier moment too. I said, this is my house too. And I want to feel comfortable here and set some of the rules and the ways that we do things. And I think that you want that for me too, which he did. Right. And it was great. And we figured it out.
I flippin' love hearing every example of when Ricky is assertive. I just want to let them wash over me. I want to hear every single example of when Ricky is assertive. I just love it because
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. When people pleasers finally get assertive, one, they usually swing the pendulum too far in the opposite direction and they're like rude and disrespectful. For sure. So we have to be like super careful that we've all done that. I did it too because you feel like you were silenced for so long, or you feel sometimes
you're a little angry. Sometimes
I'm a lot angry.
You're a lot angry.
Yeah. And then you just let that slip, and then you let that. What it really comes down to is contempt. You become contemptuous towards your partner. Right. So that's why it's so important that that goes back to the whole stories. Like, what stories are you creating? That's why it's so important that you challenge those. Why did that person do that? Well, it's because they don't care about me. Okay, that's important, because when we're bringing this stuff up, what did that come up for you?
That part in my story where I said, I want to be comfortable and with the rules, I make some of them too. And I think that you want that for me too. There it is right there. That. Not assuming that my partner wants to dominate the household and make me miserable, but assuming that he also wants this to be a harmonious place where we both feel comfortable to say how some things are,
And both partners should say just that. Like that. Yes. That's part of each of us stepping into the other person's. I feel kind of bad that we're like 20 minutes into this episode and we literally haven't defined validation. I'm really sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry that this is the podcast that you listen to. We'll get there. They love it. The long-time listeners, they get it. Yeah, long-time listeners, you already. But it's such an important discussion to have, and I love talking about it. I don't even remember where I was, but we might as well, since we're here, we might as well talk about I guess I was talking about empathy. And that's why empathy and validation go so well together, because I want both partners to step into each other's shoes. So it's hey, I'm, like in his case, hey, when this isn't done in a particular way, when this isn't, I don't know why I'm thinking about the forks and knives being put away wrong or something like that.
Yeah, the kitchen's the low hanging fruit. It's easy. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah. But hey, when you put the forks in backwards, when you put it that's just not that. I don't like that. It rubs me the wrong way. Now, we might call him that seems a little controlling, but the fact of the matter is, I don't mean to call out women, but when it comes to women and their home, there's a lot of things that I can't change. You see, anyone that's watching, you see this
or men. That's my partner, Chris. We have a particular way that the forks and the spoons need to go into the drawer. He's like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's certain things that I know that I just can't do. I can't go around and change. I can't take pictures off the walls. I can't add furniture. I would never get away with that. But there's certain little things, you know what I mean? Little idiosyncrasies or whatever that we all just kind of have. I like this thing a particular way. Okay. Right. My point is that he should step into your experience. Hey, I know this is a silly thing, but would you mind doing that? That's so much better than why'd you put the forks in backwards again?
Yes.
It's so much better.
You nailed it. Nailed it. If I could hear him say, hey, this is kind of weird of me, but.
That's all you need to say.
Yeah. And I would go, I'm listening, you lovable weirdo who are right. Lay it on me. I want to hear it.
Exactly.
Instead of saying,
yeah.
I noticed that the fork and spoon drawer was completely wrong and you are the
Exactly.
culprit. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Nobody wants to be taken aside, especially in an adult relationship, and be kind of scolded like, oh,
Right. Like a
I
child.
told
Yeah.
you that I like the forks this way, and you put them away backwards again,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to
Yeah.
scold you. So what comes to mind here is that sometimes, and I'm not saying this was in your case, I'm saying sometimes when there is like a more of a dominant personality and they're like, hey, I want this done this way. The more submissive partner can incidentally agree to something that they don't actually want to do. And so then that inevitably creates, that's why I like hearing Ricky's assertiveness, because what that inevitably does is when you forget about it because you didn't care about it in the first place, when you don't do the thing, now they're mad and they're like, you didn't do the thing and you agreed to do the thing. And they're kind of right because you did agree to do the thing, but you didn't want to do the thing. And so that's why assertiveness is so darn important, because from the get-go, you could have done what Ricky did and go, you know what? That's not an area where I really want to bend.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to have those, or else you're just gonna have a bunch of areas in your relationship where you bend. And then when they get upset, you're like, well, I didn't want to bend anyways. And they're like, then why'd you agree to that? You know, and you're like, I don't know.
That more submissive or easygoing partner is reinforcing that horrible unequal power dynamic too, by just simply agreeing to all the things that they hate or don't care about. And no wonder I was forgetting all the kitchen things. I thought they were totally dumb. Like, listen to me lowering my voice a little bit like he's home. I'm
the same way. Yep. When you're overly accommodating, I'm overly accommodating. You freaking walk all over me. Like,
right.
But guess who inevitably gets hurt in that? Me. I'm the one that inevitably gets, so you just have to be super careful. You're right. It just creates an unnecessary, I'm not saying if you now how you respond to that is so powerful. If you're like, well, I can't have those. I can't tell them that I don't feel like I'm safe to.
No, you got it.
That's a big red flag. If you don't feel safe to have those conversations, you have to, or else the relationship is in jeopardy. And maybe not even the relationship as a whole. Maybe you're thinking, well, we're not going to break up. Sure, but the connection is in jeopardy, and you can feel that. Yeah. The connection's in jeopardy. The intimacy is in jeopardy, and you're like, well, yeah, I don't feel close to them because they're so freaking domineering. Yeah. Exactly. Like, it's a big deal. You can't have this power dynamic where one person's like, we're going to do this way. And it's this or the highway. It just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. But one thing that does work also is I started to develop some preferences and speak them aloud, which also helped shift that power dynamic a little bit. Because really, even the laid back, most submissive partner does care about some things. Even if, let me see.
Yeah.
I may not have a preference on the direction that the forks and the spoons go in the drawer, but I might have a desire to be able to just throw things in to a certain slot and not look at what direction they're turned, right?
Yeah.
Maybe comfort in my household means, yes, there's a silverware drawer, but I don't have to be on walking on eggshells when I'm putting things into it per se, right?
I love that. Yeah.
So I started speaking those preferences super kindly, right? Never domineering, never punishing him for being someone who has lots of preferences, just talking about them. And it was really nuts how well he responded to that too. Okay, instead of this person who just usually does all the things or agrees, I am living with a person who has her own preferences. This is also her house, and she would like things to be a certain way too. I
love that. Yeah. So if I could derail just slightly, because I want to go back to what the experiment was. When you said I'm going to assume that he's right, you
about
didn't
the
mean,
feeling. Yeah.
Exactly. You didn't mean he's right, like it should be done this way, and I'm wrong because I forgot. I'm assuming that he's right in having the reaction, the feeling that he's having.
Yes.
The feeling that he's having is valid. And that's where validation, for anybody that's like, what is validation? It's simply acknowledging and exploring and getting curious about and understanding that feelings are valid. That doesn't mean feelings are facts. That doesn't mean
Right.
that feelings are, but feelings are real. And and we can validate someone's experience and perspective and feelings given their past and their present.
Yeah.
We can validate those as real. That doesn't mean that we're agreeing with it. And we'll get into the nuance there, but validation in its sense is simply just, I care about how you experience that. I care about how my words and actions impact you. I care about the feelings that you're having.
Yeah. And I do with him,
We all should. Yeah.
We all should. He's the person that I love the most. He's incredibly particular about a ridiculous amount of things, but I don't want him to walk through his house experiencing distress or frustration over every little corner that he turns to. And so I am able to sit with him and at least say, yes, this thing bothers you. How can I help? But also, this is a little bit too far for me. I can't help in this specific way, but I would like to help you out somehow. So let's talk about a compromise that works for both people.
Yeah. And I think it's so important when we're talking about feelings being valid, because that still strikes so many people as like, no, that's not true. Like their feelings, just because they're feeling something doesn't make it valid. And once again, I think that you're maybe misconstruing a couple different things. You're hearing feelings are like that the story that they created is true, but feelings themselves are actually valid because you're having them. It's not so people, I think one of the confusion doesn't make sense, but one of the confusions is that people don't know what feelings are. They think feelings are thoughts. Oh, she's feeling like I'm selfish.
Oh,
how am I supposed to validate?
Yeah. Hey, listeners, he's never correct about that. And I make sure in the kindest way possible that he knows that. So when he would come to me and he would say, hey, I noticed that you selfishly put this thing in this, right? And I would say, hey, babe, that's not the way we talk to each other. Also, I am not a selfish person. I know that about myself, but we're going to talk about this thing that bothers you because I care about it. Because I care about it and I care about you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And
Go
why
ahead.
that
I'm all
matters.
fired up now. I'm living this.
No, exactly. I can't wait. I can't. And the reason that matters so much is because these are the arguments that most people are having. Most people aren't having the arguments that when we get to the end of the episode and we're talking about all the healthy ways to do things like, hey, the story I'm telling myself is that I feel distressed. Oh, babe, your feelings matter to me. Tell me, let's explore your perspective. That's not how it goes. It goes, hey, you selfishly did something. And then the other person goes, first of all, I'm not selfish. And then the other person goes, oh, so you're going to be defensive. You're going to gaslight me. Now, where do you go? Do you see how it started on a wrong trajectory? So it just continues on a wrong trajectory. When you don't, that's why it's so important that the first two things out of each partner's mouth, we got to get on the right path right away, or else this thing is so easily derailed. I mean, we all know how easily the moment that somebody creates a story and then they misconstrue that as a feeling. Hey, I'm feeling like you don't care about me. Cool. Yeah. That's not a feeling. So we're already off on the wrong foot. And now you're already accusing this person and you're already blaming you can see how quickly. So my only point was, and I want to hear what comes up for you is that don't misconstrue what a feeling actually is. Don't label it as a thought. It's not your thoughts are not, I'm not saying your thoughts are valid just because you feel like your partner's selfish. I'm not saying those are true. I'm saying the feelings that you're having in your body are real. You're actually having them. And as our partners who we love, we can just we can step into their experience with empathy and go, hey, let's talk about what you're actually feeling. Oh, you're feeling frustrated? Let's talk about that. I'm not saying that I necessarily that I believe you that you should be frustrated. That doesn't actually matter. What matters is I care about you, and let's have a healthy discussion on why you feel frustrated.
Yeah. Such a good point, Jimmy. I would, when he was in those moments where he was going, hey, you selfishly put this thing, sometimes I would stop him and I would go, okay, that's not a feeling. This doesn't tell me what's really going on for you about this situation. What is it about the teapot being in this specific place that isn't working for you? Because I want to hear that. That's what I want to hear. And it would immediately reroute him into talking about his feelings about it. Okay, well, when you put the teapot here, this close underneath the cabinet, it shoots all that steam up and it's getting rid of the glue underneath and I'm like, okay, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. I'm going to make a point to keep the teapot away from that because I don't want to destroy our cabinets. Thank you. Right. Yeah. And granted, that wasn't a feeling either, but I needed to redirect him away from looking at me as like some sort of house gremlin that's just going around wrecking everything,
Exactly. Yeah.
And instead, let's look at what the actual physics are that you feel like are breaking down that need to be addressed here. Right.
Yeah. Because when you have OCD or when you're really particular about things, that's why it's so important for those people. Like, okay, as the accommodating person, I can say this, and I get it. It sounds a little bit like I'm just telling people to be more like me. But the point I just want to make is when somebody, you need to recognize that's you. I got a little OCD. I'm like kind of hyper critical of like where things go and yada, yada.
Yeah.
You gotta lead. You can't lead with that, like placing a negative view on that person. Like this person did this because they don't care about my preferences. Like they don't, it's just so important. It's like we said earlier, if you come to them like, I know this is silly, but can you do it this way? And even when they mess that up the next time, even when they're like, oh yeah, I can put the teapot, whatever, I'll put it somewhere. And then even when you do it again, even when you put it in the wrong spot again, it's the simple reminders of like, hey, remember we talked about this like it messes up the glue. I know it's silly. Could you please do this for me? And you know what? That's just what a loving relationship does. You might have to ask them 3 times. You might have to ask them
10 times.
They might never remember. My wife, there's been things that my wife has never done where I've reminded her a couple times like, hey, could you do this differently? That would really mean a lot to me. She's like, sure, babe.
Yeah.
Didn't do it the first time. I'm like, hey, remember that thing that I asked you? Hey, could you? And I don't do this often. This is like, we're talking about because I'm so overly accommodating, right? So that's what's so hurtful is when you ask again, you're like, hey, so that thing, can you do that? There's been things that she has never she just, and I've just stopped asking because I'm like, she's not doing it out of malintent. She's just never going to remember that. That's just not on her radar. There's other things that she has remembered perfectly. This one, she can't do it. And you know what? So part of being in a relationship is literally letting it go. And like the teapot thing, you're like, you know what? The glue is just going to get destroyed and I will eventually fix it. And you know what? My love for her is so much stronger than this stupid glue. I don't care how much it costs to do it. I'm not going to have the fight with her and I'm not going to assume a negative intent about her. I'm literally just going to forgive and move on. And that's part of a relationship. If you're not doing that, then you're not doing it right. But
Right. What's the Gottman's? Is that the fun one? Is that the 69% of problems are completely unsolvable?
Correct.
69% of the time. The things
you're going to keep
your
fighting
partner,
about the same.
Yes. The things they're doing or saying, they're like, sure, I'll fix that for you. They're not going to. They're not going. And sometimes some of the stuff, and Chris is so great about this. Sometimes he'll look at a thing and he'll just be like, I know you're never going to do it this other way. And you know what? I can live with that. Like, I don't like it, but I can live with it.
Yeah. You literally,
and I love him so much in those moments.
Yeah. We're all going to have those things about each other. That's not to say you shouldn't have standards. That's not to say that you shouldn't bring up things that are super important to you. Those are true. And it's also true that there's going to be at least a couple little things where you're just like, where it's like they put the spoons in wrong every single time. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. You're just going to have to pick the spoon up wrong. You're just going to have to, or you're going to have to change it yourself. And you're going to have to not hold resentment or bitterness towards them. You're going to have to literally laugh at yourself every time you come in the kitchen and the cabinets are open again, even though you've asked them, can you close the cabinets when you're done? Would you mind closing the cabinets when you're done? Cabinets are open again. Guess what? You're going to have to just go. I go, my partner.
There's my lovable weirdo doing those weird things that they do.
Yeah, that's just what you have to do if you want to be in a long-term loving. Ask any long-term loving relationship. Hey, what are some things that annoyed you over the last 50 years with you? They're going to have plenty. This. Yes. They're going to have plenty. And they chose to not let those build up resentment and yada, yada, yada. Because that's just what you have to do.
Okay, here's the point where I actually remember that I said something 20 minutes ago that I would come back to. So Chris, at one point said, This was a long time ago. This wasn't during the experiment. But he's like, because I told him, I said, I want you to tell me whenever anything bothers you, which you think would be
First of
a
all,
scary thing to say. Oh, thank
lovely
you.
thing to say. Like, we should all be saying that to each other, but go on. Yeah.
Right. It might be a scary thing to say to somebody who's kind of particular, though, right?
Terrifying.
But I said, well, because that's like opening the floodgates. Okay, now they have complete control and they're going to do everything. No, that's not how it turned out. I said, I want you to tell me anytime that something bothers you. And he said, yeah, but you get upset when I say some things. So it makes me feel like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe you don't want me to say everything that upsets me. And I said, babe, you can tell me anything that you want that upsets you if you can find a kind way to say it that isn't accusing me of being a bad person, right? Anything. And he's like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to talk to you about how to do that.
That's what this next conversation is about. Yeah.
Yes, because I want to know. I said, if you can speak to me from your feelings instead of your ideas about how I'm bad, I'm going to listen to anything. And he didn't believe me, but Jimmy, it works. It works. He believes me now. Now he knows that he can do that because with practice.
I love that. What is his most common go-to feeling? Frustrated?
Frustrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
You nailed it. It's almost like you're a guy also. Is that a very common?
That's what I would have gone with. Yeah.
Frustration. And I used to think it was anger. Isn't that funny? I used to always say, you get angry about everything. And he said, I'm not angry about everything. I'm frustrated. Yeah. And he's like, frustration's different from anger. And he's the one who schooled me there. I love it when he can teach me things about emotions. He's like, anger makes me like want to go punch my pillow. He's like, I'm not angry. Frustrated is like, there's a way that things function in our household and are maintained. And frustration is like, I feel like I want to do something about this and I can't. And then I feel like you're fighting against me with it. And it was so neat to hear that from him. I'm like, okay, he's not angry at me. Our connection isn't threatened. He's frustrated. There's a way that he thinks things should go and it's not going that way. And he wants to do something about it. I can work with frustration.
I love that. Yeah. And I don't feel like we really explored this experiment, but I just want to touch on the fact that when you at least try to validate someone's experience, when you try to step into their perspective with some empathy and be like, okay, I really want to know what you're feeling here. Sometimes people don't really know. So you have to like coach them a little bit. And I get it that that's a hot button. People are like, I don't want to teach them how to be an emotional adult. I get that. But we're all, if you're listening to this, you're probably the partner that's a little bit more emotionally engaged and your partner's not. Did I get it right? Ding, ding, ding. I'm not a fortune teller. I just know how relational dynamics work. And
Jimmy, can I interject real quick and say, I do want to help my partner with those things. Like
you are one of the ones that are so good about that. You're always like,
I see so many.
Like, I'll teach him because I know
online.
that it's in my best interest.
Yes, it is, and his.
Correct.
People say, well, I don't want to have to teach someone things. Well, you know what? He teaches me a lot of things that aren't emotional, like anything mechanical. Anything. I have a 0 out of 10 mechanical aptitude, and he doesn't get angry that I don't know how to do those things. He teaches me. He shows me.
That's one of the most important things that no one talks about. You're like, when you're in a relationship, find me somebody who's in a relationship that isn't teachable, and I'll show you an unhealthy relationship.
Exactly.
I don't have anything to learn. They can't teach me anything. Nothing that's important. I know all the important things, and they don't know. They can't teach me any. Like, I'll show you a very sad dynamic where you probably feel like I'm, and yet you probably feel like you're not the issue.
Right.
Those usually go hand in hand. So if you don't think you have anything to learn in your relationship, and you also believe you're not the issue, be careful. Be really careful.
You might be part of the issue.
You might be part of the issue. Yeah. But what I wanted to say in response to the validation experiment is because when you step into somebody's perspective and at least honor those feelings that they're having, even if you have to coach them a little bit and you're like, it sounds like you're frustrated because of this, this, and this. Even when you validate those as real, even if you don't agree with them or the way that they came to them, just validating those as real, that is a great de-escalating strategy when it comes to conflict. So one of the reasons that Ricky said his whole demeanor changed, his whole like approach changed, it's because that is so de-escalating, and that helps people to feel seen and heard and understood. And everybody wants to feel seen, heard, and understood. Everybody.
Yes.
So we all have to become experts, whether you wanted to or not. You have to become an expert on how do I validate someone's experience, and help them to feel seen, heard, and understood. Now, the way that they bring that is still important, because we talk about that all the time. The way that they do that, just like Ricky said, like, talk to me in a kind way, taking accountability for your own feelings. Don't point the finger at me. You made me so frustrated. Hey, I'm feeling frustrated. I know that this thing is a little silly. The story that I made up in my head is this, but I don't want to make any accusations. I don't want to blame you for yada, yada. Can we help? Can we understand this together? As our great friend Morgan Birch says. Can we understand this together? It's one of the most beautiful things. Just that sentence alone, you need to be saying that to each other. And that's how you can de-escalate these things. And it goes from what was the example we used earlier, where it's like, oh yeah, you selfishly did this. I'm not selfish. You're selfish. No, you're gaslighting me. You're being so defensive. We can go from that to, hey, I know this is silly, but here's yada, yada. Oh, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for telling me that is one of the most validating. That immediately brings me into your world. It takes a step in the right direction. Hey, thank you for telling me that. Who has heard that? When somebody comes to you with a hurt, or
Chris has, because I use that regularly. And it works. It works.
Rarely do people say that to each other, and yet that's what we all crave to hear. Thank you for telling me.
Yeah. Or I'm so glad that you didn't hide that, and that you were upset about that. I'll say that sometimes too. Like, so.
Did we cover it? Did we do a good job at explaining what it is and what it isn't, or do we still have more? Because I don't really know.
I don't know. I kind of feel like we did. It's an ongoing experiment. It's still going. I'm still doing it because I spent 40 years learning to be defensive, so it's going to take a little bit for me to unlearn that one.
Can we just spend a few minutes, unless you have a different direction on this, can we just spend a few minutes on going back to that person at the beginning of the episode, which is like, okay, I want to validate them, but I don't think that they know what validation is. I think that they're trying to get me to do something. Sure. Can we just spend like 2 seconds on that? Because here's my asterisk. You can't validate someone like a truly toxic person, or if God forbid you're in like an emotionally abusive relationship, you will feel like you're going to validate until the cows come home. Like you will never validate enough for them to feel, because they don't actually want understanding and they don't want connection. They want control. So be careful if you're kind of feeling like I'm saying the right words, but it's not good enough for this person. They literally just want me to admit that I'm wrong. In that case, you have to remember like that you might not necessarily be dealing with someone that is interested in connection and understanding. They're really just interested in, you need to do things my way. And then you need to understand, or you need to figure out, am I in a relationship where there's reciprocal energy? Am I in a relationship where we both share the same values? Why are you laughing at me?
Yeah. Oh, you're just tripping over words. I can relate today. Today I've been tripping over all
reciprocity
my words,
is the hardest word for me to say.
Reciprocity. I thought that you were trying to go a different.
I never can say
reciprocal's good. That's fine too.
Yeah, it's fine.
And you nailed asterisk. So that's a tough one. So.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Anyways.
Yeah, I think it's a good caveat to put in there. I also think, as the partner who's trying to be validating, it's tough to learn. So I don't want people to get frustrated, to think, hey, the last 5 or 6 fights now, I've said, oh, I'm sorry. I understand that makes you feel. And they were still mad at me. They were still upset about the thing. And they still said I was selfish. I'm clearly dealing with a narcissist. It's like, no, it takes a while to learn how to be genuinely curious about what their upset is, especially if they're really bad at voicing it too. So if you guys are both just really inept at this, that's one place that couples counseling can really shine. A couples counselor can kind of give you both the space to talk about the things that are important to you and what you're feeling, without having you guys say some really damaging stuff. Because I don't know about your experiences with couples counseling, Jimmy, but when I was in there, I remember the moment somebody says, and they're being selfish with the couples counselor steps in and goes, hey, that's not the kind of language we use. Let's back you up and let's talk more about what you were feeling and what was happening inside for you. Yeah. And that's one of the magical things about couples counseling is because if you're really bad at talking about this stuff, or your partner's really bad at talking about this stuff, or you both are, sometimes you need a third party to go in there and go, time out. Yeah. That's not what we say to each other. Let's try this one again.
Yeah. I don't give as much grace as you do. I'm glad that you give so much grace. But like taking labels out of things, like even if we're not dealing with somebody who's toxic, narcissistic, or abusive, just the fact that if you're the only one that ever is curious, if you're the I can give somebody grace that is like not good at conflict. I'm not good at communication. I say the wrong things. I can give a lot of grace, but if that person doesn't have a willingness to learn, I guess what I'm trying to say through my external processing is I still know that, what's the word I'm looking for here? Mindlessness still destroys relationships.
Yes. And I've got limits, Jimmy. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I'm not someone who endlessly forgives. If I see mindlessness, meaning somebody who's just my way or the highway, this person's selfish and I don't care, I'm not doing any work. I've only got so much of me that can handle that or deal with that person for so long. I do have limits. They're longer than a lot of people's. I am pretty gracious, but
me too.
But you get to decide that for yourself, listener.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
You do. If you don't have hope that your partner is able to fix this in any reasonable timeline, you have choices. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on that. You do have choices. But also, you know, the ever forgiving Ricky, don't be so quick to think that your partner's a hopeless case if you haven't had professionals intervene, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, It's true. It is true. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I derailed us. Where were you gonna?
I lost my way a long time ago.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know where we're at now.
We're both flying blind. That's fantastic.
Yeah. This if we're winding down toward the end of the episode, this might be a good time to tell people that it might be a little bit before the next one, but that I promise I'll be back. I'm going on my big
congratulations.
My big trip, so yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Okay, I have a couple of things that I want. Okay, I'll just read this off and let's see if anything comes. This is like when validation doesn't work. You know,
I didn't know you had more. Here I was trying to shut the episode down. Lay it on us, Jimmy. Yeah.
No, I like to go to the hour. We have like 6 more minutes left. You know.
Okay.
But what I think it's important because you touched on this numerous times that validating somebody doesn't mean necessarily that you are going to change your behavior. And that's where it gets really tricky because they're like, wait. You're going to validate me. You're going to validate my feelings of frustration, but you're not going to change anything. That seems how is that not selfish?
Well, I did in my example, I couldn't change what he was asking me to change. Yeah. But I said, because I care about you and your feelings, I want to sit down and come up with a new plan together. Something's going to change. It's not going to be specifically what you asked for, but we're going to figure out what might feel good and work for both of us. So what's the example that you're giving where someone validates without any change at all? I feel like that would send my partner through the roof.
What I'm saying is that you don't have to change anything. You can validate something, and that's where we get kind of tripped up in. It's like if your partner validated you, or if you're with someone who you try to validate them, and then they're kind of still waiting. They're like, okay, but are you going to change the thing? And you're like, actually, no, I'm not going to change that thing because like that's not something that I'm willing to change. And they're like, well, then there's no point. You didn't validate me. You don't care about my feelings. You don't care. And you're like, no, I do care about your feelings. I do care about your experience, but that's not something that I'm willing. My point is that you can validate someone that in all the ways that we just talked about. You still don't have to change because just like you said, there are certain things where you're like, hey, I'm not willing to bend in that area. I'm more than willing to have a conversation with you. But if you're dealing with somebody who's a little bit more controlling or a little bit more emotionally, inept, then they're just going to dismiss you. They're going to go, I don't want to have another conversation. Change or don't. But if you don't change, then you don't care about my feelings. You're like, well, no, I do care about my feelings. I do care about your feelings. I'm just not willing to budge in this area. That doesn't mean I don't care about you. So be very careful. That's the nuance of like, you can still validate and not, they're going to be like, you need to change. And you're like, no, I don't actually need to change in this area.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. This brought up so many things for me. And I'm so glad that I'm talking to you about this because you are more assertive than I am, I think, in a lot of ways.
I wish.
So no, it's true, Jimmy. So here's,
I've never said these things to any person. These are just thoughts, Ricky. I've never.
Right. It's all just in your head. Okay. So there's this pair of jeans that I bought that I really love. I really love them. My partner really hates them. He doesn't think that they're flattering on me at all. They bother him, right?
It's a great example, really.
It's a great example. And he, instead of directly saying it, because that would make him a jerk, right? He makes little digs. He makes little jokes about my jeans because he hates them. Right? Super passive aggressive. Negative points for Chris. He's very passive aggressive. Yeah, that's all right. But so I'll wear these jeans and he'll make, oh, sorry. I've got the emoji popping up on the screen here for the people watching. Yeah. I'll wear these jeans and he'll make his little passive aggressive comments. And that's where I will say, hey, babe, I know that you hate these jeans. I know that they are not your thing and you don't think I look sexy in them. And I want you to know that I'm going to wear them anyway. And I'm going to wear something sexy for you tomorrow. But today you're just going to have to let me wear my parachute jeans and deal with it.
Perfect example.
And it's a perfect example because sometimes, I think this is what you were trying to say too. Sometimes it's their problem to deal with. It's not my problem that he doesn't like my jeans.
Couldn't have said it better.
Doesn't affect anything in a measurable way. Like I think actually on one of our old podcasts, we were talking about a shirt that he has that I hate. Right. And it's just like, you know what? He's just going to wear that shirt sometimes and I'm just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's countless of those things that come up and and it's like, you still care about the way he feels, but go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jimmy, I was going to tell you too. I also said no more jokes about my jeans.
Heck
right.
Yeah.
And that's a boundary because I was like, I am aware of how you feel about these. Yep. I don't want you to make comments about them ever again. 100%. Just keep that to yourself. If you
can do all those things at the same time. You could, if somebody comes to you and they're just like snippy about this, like you can care, like, hey, let's talk about what you're feeling. Oh, you're feeling this? Like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, hey, like we can explore that for a second. I can validate that as real. However, I'm not taking the jeans off. So like, yes. And don't make jokes about my body anymore.
Right. Exactly.
That whole conversation. And you still cared about their experience. You still cared to explore their experience. And you still were assertive and set a boundary. That is a perfect encapsulation of like a healthy dynamic. Like I care about your experience, but I have one foot in and one foot out. Like empathy plus assertiveness. It's a perfect example.
And I'm not jumping on Reddit on the Am I the Jerk forum. I'm not going to say the bad word on here. I'm not on Reddit like, my husband doesn't like my jeans and he makes passive aggressive comments, but I'm not doing that. I just literally just laid it down. Hey, dude, I have a feeling you hate these pants because of the things that you say about them. And that's not cool. Don't do that. But I know it's important to you to like looking at your wife. So I'll wear your favorite of my jeans tomorrow. But today, deal with it.
I'm trying to think of an example. Can you think of any other examples where it's like where we care about our partner's experience, feelings? We're willing to validate their feelings, but we're not willing to change the behavior that they're upset about. I'm trying to think of any others. Yeah.
I chew gum, not all the time, but sometimes. And my partner thinks that's super annoying. Right? I'm sure there's things that you and Emily do where the other person is like, that's really annoying, right?
Countless.
And countless, right? So many things.
That was meant to be a joke.
It's true. It's true. Countless. Okay, there are a lot of them. When you've been with someone for, 5, 10, 20, 30 years, you find the annoying things. Chris hates it when I chew gum.
People are annoying in
he's like,
general. So
People
whoever
are
you're with
annoying
is going to be annoying.
It's true.
Go on.
It's
Sorry.
true. My cat annoys me sometimes. You know, every living thing has annoying features to it. So he's like, I'd like you to stop chewing gum because it's so annoying. I just feel like my head's going to explode when I hear that sound. That. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, I can chew the gum away from you, but I'm not going to stop chewing gum. Like,
yeah, I love that.
Like, I don't want to annoy you. So maybe I'll make a point to like be in a different room if I'm enjoying some gum, or like maybe chew a little quieter. But at the same time, the thing that you're asking is too much. So
I love that. Yeah.
That's that.
The only thing that I could bring up, the only thing I could think about was like exercise. Like, let's just say that you enjoy going to the gym. Okay. So you're going to the gym, and your partner comes to you and they're like, I think you go to the gym too much. Like,
because they miss the time with you. Is that?
Yeah, they miss the time with you. Sure.
Okay.
Like, okay, I feel lonely. You're at the gym. I don't feel like you prioritize this relationship. I feel okay. Now, normally you would expect me to tell that person, okay, you need to validate your partner's feelings. They feel alone. Like, you need to be get curious and explore, and you should do that. However, I'm not going to tell you that you have to stop going to the gym. Do you know why? Because you're an adult. You get to make your own choices, and you deciding to go to the gym whenever you want to, while that might be irresponsible for the sake of your relationship. And I might warn you, like, hey, I believe that you are actually neglecting your relationship. If you don't believe that and you're like, I really value my time at the gym. I'm not neglecting my kids. I'm not like, I still see this person X amount of hours. That feels appropriate to me. So I'm going to continue going to the gym. I would say, good on you. So you did the thing. You validated the person's feelings, but they're still going to feel like you didn't. Well, hold on. You're still going to go to the gym? You're like, yeah, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you don't care about me then. Well, no, I do care about your feelings.
How about this? This in this hypothetical conversation? Okay, Jimmy, you said I'm going to the gym too much. I really care about going to the gym. I feel like it's really healthy for me. It makes me feel better about my body and my day and my stress. What can I do so that you still feel good about our time together, and I don't have to sacrifice my gym time because it's so important to me?
Yes.
That would work, right?
That would work. Well, it depends on the partner you're dealing with. That's the problem.
That's true. That's a good point.
That's why what you said before is so vitally important, which is that we're both trying to step into each other's shoes. Yes. So the person that feels alone and abandoned because their partner's going to the gym so much, we step into their shoes and we go, hey, I bet going to the gym is so important to you. There's probably so many reasons why it's important to you. Tell me about them. That's how that's how we're going to start this conversation. It's opening up a dialogue of, there's no condemnation here. There's no judgment here. It's curiosity. Hey, tell me about what the gym means to you. Oh, the gym? Oh my gosh. There's people there that I interact with. I love, what's one of my favorite places. I love feeling strong. Oh my gosh. There was a season in my life where I felt so yucky and I was eating wrong and I had health issues, and now I've been going to the gym regularly, and oh my gosh, does my body feel so much better? I feel younger. It means so much to me. Now that person has a context, and they don't have to roll with the story in their head, which is they care about the gym more than they care about our relationship. That's the story you created. So you have to take responsibility for those stories, so that when you come to this person, hey, I recognize that the gym means the world to you, and I don't want to take that away from you. However, boy, do I miss our time together. Is there a timing issue here? Can you go to the gym at a different time in the day so that we could still have these times that we used to have together that I really miss? And that person can still validate you, and hopefully that they're willing to shift. They're like, oh yeah, I can go to the gym at a different time. And then now we don't have to have a giant conflict of, you care about the gym more than you care about me. And then now you feel like you need to put your foot in I need to draw the line in the sand because you're trying to control my life. And heck yeah, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the gym right now, actually. So it's like, we don't, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to get off the rails if we both step into each other's shoes and go, oh, you know what? That does make sense that you feel alone, let you feel lonely. Like, I don't want you to feel lonely, and I still want to be able to go to the gym. So like, let's understand this together.
Yes. Yes.
Anyways.
I think that's our gem at the end of the episode here, that both people should be striving to put themselves in the other person's shoes. And that's how we can find that middle ground. My partner's particularness, maybe that'll be my second experiment. Hey, Chris, I'd like you to spend the next month, whenever you find something that I've done wrong, or you feel the need to maybe complain about or bring up, and before you bring it up to me, I want you to do your best to pretend that you're me going through that situation with good intentions, right? Like, try to figure out what motivates Ricky in the kitchen, and not just, oh, Ricky's lazy and she just wants to throw stuff into, no, like try to ask yourself, what would make Ricky feel like this is her house too, that she gets to decide some things on, because I know that you care about that. I don't know. I could try it. We'll see how he receives it.
Like our good friend, Dr. Stan Tatkin says, you're co-creating this thing together, Yes. Yes.
Oh, I miss talking to him.
You know what I thought about? Since we're at the end of the episode, I can let loose, and I don't have to be smart. I don't have to be smart anymore. I thought about, I don't know if you would enjoy this as like a gift. I thought about contacting him, and for anyone who doesn't know, is he a doctor? Is he a doctor, Stan Tatkin?
Oh, yes, he's a doctor. PhD.
Yeah, he's a PhD. Yep. Dr. Stan Tatkin, he's one of Ricky's favorite authors.
I'm a huge fangirl. Yeah.
We had him on once. If this is your first time listening, we had him on once. So if you want to go listen to that episode, he dropped some great knowledge on that. But I thought about contacting him. I still might do this, and just don't tell Ricky. I thought about contacting him and then surprising you. Like, really? Like, yeah. Like
are you saying you would be like, okay, podcast recording time, and then Stan just shows up in the podcast?
Yeah.
Jimmy, I would die. I would die.
Actually, I didn't mean to do it, but if you want to welcome in Dr. Stan. No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez. For 1 second, I was like, it's happening.
It's happening. Anyways, how would you react if I did that? If I like somehow orchestrated that and I was like, and he just showed up on the screen?
I think...
Be honest. Would you be a little bit? It'd be like that surprise party that you didn't want. You're like, this is so great. No, but like, why did you do the...
I think as long as sometimes I show up to these and I feel like I'm not quite prepared. Like if I was like not quite prepared, like I'm late, I can't set my mic up, I don't like how my hair is, then I might be a little horrified. But in general, right. I feel like I would be pretty jacked, pretty excited.
If you were ready. If I was like, Ricky, be ready at 2:00.
You could just do that. This is a really special one. Get your hair looking nice, because I have a big surprise. If you just said something like that, so that but
now you know what the surprise is. I can't. Now I have to get another surprise. Now when I say guest. Ricky, there's going to be a surprise, and you're going to be like, Stan Tatkin's coming on, and then it's like somebody else, and you're like, I think, what? Where's my buddy?
I think any surprise guest would be cool, though.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I love the
We should do that. We should do surprise guests that the other person doesn't know.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny.
That's kind of a weird thing to do.
Maybe I think that would be fun. Okay. Let's make that a goal for 2026. We will surprise each other with a guest that the other person doesn't know is coming. That'd
be wild.
We have lots of cool friends too. So
we have a lot of cool friends. I would totally be on board with that. With like just like a friend showing up. You have complete freedom to invite any of our friends on the podcast anytime you want.
Okay.
And they'll just show up and we'll be like, oh my gosh, Morgan. And we'll just record and we'll just go.
Yeah.
Because they're all so brilliant, and they're also they just care so deeply about relationships and helping people. You have complete freedom, and you let me know if you want me to surprise you with it.
Okay. Well. No, that sounds fun.
Anyways, for the people that care, tell us where you're. I'm personally, I want to know where you're going. Not you don't have to be specific, but where you're traveling.
Chris and I are doing another van trip. We're aspiring van lifers, and we will be trekking through California and Baja California, Mexico. So that'll be fun.
It's gonna be beautiful.
It's way more beautiful than 10 degree. The winters here in Alaska are really brutal, so we need to get out to maintain our sanity. But it could be a little bit between podcast episodes because I can't record on the road. But as soon as I get back, I want to pick this up and keep going.
They're used to being neglected by us.
Yeah, maybe. I know.
Maybe.
Our poor long-term listeners. Sorry, guys. I wish we were more consistent. Yeah.
Sorry,
so
we
I'll
don't make any money from this, so it's your fault.
Right,
Kidding.
No, that's so funny. We could set up a donation link if they want some more regular episodes, maybe.
I know, right?
I'm not posting pictures anywhere, though. That's what I wish I could tell people. Like, go here for my pictures. But I guess actually my Instagram account, I'll probably have background images will be Yosemite.
You'll probably post. You'll post stories. You'll post pictures to your story.
You think people would like that? Maybe I will.
I'm going to be disappointed if you don't. So how am I supposed to?
Okay. How are you supposed to follow the trip? Done. Right. I will do that, Jimmy. I'll post about my trip on there. I don't usually.
I don't get to travel for anybody that doesn't know. I have 4 kids. We were not poor. We didn't have any money for a long time. And of course we didn't travel. And I'm grateful that we still were able to make ends meet. But when I say we had like $2,000 in the checking account at all times, and the bills were like $6,000, so we were barely making. We were bringing in just as much. Anyways.
Well, money or not, kids take up a lot of time. I'm at a different life stage than you are, for sure. I have one. So
finally, we have enough money in the vacation fund. Like we've finally been taking vacations again. But my point is that we don't get to like. I went out west for the first time this year. I went to California actually for the first time, and to do a podcast, which is a great way to travel. If people are like, "Hey, do you want to come? I'll pay for your trip." I was like, "Oh, fantastic." Anyways, so I get very jealous of like people that can travel because I want to go see a lot of things, but I also it's really difficult. Yeah. No,
you'll get there, Jimmy. You'll get there. Someday when your kids are all teenagers, you'll realize they don't want to hang out with you anyway.
Yeah. My youngest is 5, so I'm not that far away.
Yeah.
But I'm and I'm not that far away. Like when he's like 10 and 11, like he won't be that much of
easier.
When I need to dip out and go on a little podcast road trip or something out in the West, I don't think my wife would be. I'll check with her, obviously. I'm just saying, I don't think she'd be that upset. It's easier when you have like a 10 and a 14 and a 15-year-old. It's just easier. They don't require it's not like now where it's 5, 7, 9, and 10.
Exactly.
They're cuckoo, cuckoo. So it's like, very difficult.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess if you don't follow me, Anxious Hearts Guide on Instagram, I'll be posting van pictures, I suppose. And we'll see you in a couple months. With more relationship advice.
Yeah. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Send us an email, send us I was going to say a DM, but unfortunately I don't check those as much because I do check them, but if you message and I don't message you back, it's just because I got too many and I
right.
I can't spend
I'm pretty good there.
Too much time on my phone, or else I end up spending just hours on my phone, and then it feels like I'm neglecting my family. So but email, I actually respond to. If you email me, I'm not going to give it to you, but if you find it and you email me, because that means you really want to.
Yeah, I gave out my email on one of our recent podcasts, and I got some emails, and so I'm pretty comfortable with that. My email is like they can email me, I suppose.
Yeah, if
you want to talk to Jimmy, you go through me. That's that's how that works. I'm very available by.
I love that. Not for long. You'll be on van life. Anyways.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, a couple months. Anyway.
This was great. I think I hope this helped. Great. I hope this was helpful. I loved it. I'll talk about validation.
I hope it was too.
Any day of the week, obviously. But.
And I'm excited to get back to you, to talking to you, Jimmy, and talking to our audience. And
yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna miss you guys, but we'll be back soon.
All right. Well, I guess that's it.
Okay. Bye. See you guys next time.